Welcome to another episode of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal where I discuss my life, the things I'm doing, and as scary as it is, the things I've been thinking about. This episode is going to start off the same way that every episode this year will start off up until I hit my weight loss goal, and that is with a weight loss update. This week, I was down 1.8 pounds. And to some of you, that might sound like that's pretty good, but for me, maybe it's because I have really high expectations or goals that are unrealistic. To me, that was kind of a letdown. And I'll tell you two stories here that one almost contributed to me not hitting my goal, and then another one that probably did contribute to that. By the way, my goal is like 3 to 3.5 pounds a week, which is like a lot. But here's the good news before I tell you these stories. I am down 11 pounds so far in January. Today is January 27th. I started this on technically January 3rd. January 2nd, we had like a big pizza party. Spoiler alert, that comes up again this episode. And it was Clark's birthday. But after that, I was like, all right, I'm getting in gear. So I'm down 11 pounds this month. I weigh less now than any point that I weighed in 2022. So that feels good. But 1.8 pounds is just like, I expect more of myself. But let me tell you these stories here on the sabotage, if you will. The first sabotage, the one that almost got me. Almost. This happened Saturday night. Cody and I had just gone to bed, and I was laying there, and we heard this music playing outside our house. And I was like, what is that? So Cody gets up, and she looks out the window, and she's like, there's somebody out here taking pictures of our house. And I was like, what? So I go over and look, and there's this girl standing there taking a picture with her phone, and then she starts walking back out to her car, which is literally parked in the road. Like, it's just in the road in front of our house with the door open and music blaring. She gets in the car and she drives away. And we look at our security cam footage, and in the front there is a bag sitting there. And I'm like, you know what this is? That was a Door Dash, which we did not order. So I go down, I open the door, and I look at it, and it's a McDonald's bag, my kryptonite, if you will. Not my full kryptonite. We'll talk about that in the story number 2, but like McDonald's is right up there. And I can tell it says Door Dash on it. It's all folded over, and then there's like this receipt on it. And on that receipt, it says that there are 3 hamburgers, a large fry, 10-piece chicken nugget, and a Coke in there. And I'm just like, the gods, they have answered me, because I was literally laying in bed right then. I was just like starving. I was thinking about food, and all of a sudden this food arrives on my doorstep. And I'm looking at this bag, and I'm just like, my prayers have been answered. Thank you. But I was like, you know what? I got to leave this here, because you know what's going to happen is, obviously this isn't the right house for this DoorDash. And the people that are supposed to get it, they're probably going to contact them and be like, yo, our food wasn't delivered. And they're going to be like, yeah, it was. Look, here's the picture. And then I would assume that they're going to come back for it, or something's going to happen. So I just was like, all right, I'm going to try to put this out of my mind. As much as I would love to just go destroy some of those hamburgers or eat those chicken nuggets that are in there, I'm going to go back to bed, and I'm just going to put this out of my mind. And you know what happened? About 20 minutes later, the DoorDash person comes back. This time pulls into our driveway. She actually was like, I think I'm going to take some time here to properly do this. And she comes back and gets the bag. And we got the alert. So I look out the window, and then she drives over to our neighbor right beside us, and then drives down their driveway, which, you know, we're pretty close here, and maybe the numbers are hard to see, especially at night. But then she delivered the food down to them, which I kind of feel bad for them, because, you know, McDonald's food has a very short shelf life, right? Like those French fries, they are not good after just a few minutes. Burgers, maybe a little bit longer. Chicken nuggets, debatable. But this stuff, not only did this DoorDash person go and pick this food up after it had already been prepared. So it had been sitting there in McDonald's, I'm assuming, for who knows how long. Could be no time at all. Could be a few minutes. Picks it up. She drives it up here, which is about a 10-minute drive, I would say. And then drops it off on my cold cement, like, front porch area, and where it sat for the next 20 minutes. She then comes back and picks it up and then delivers it to the neighbor's house. Can you imagine how nasty that food was? I'm sure they got like a massive discount, or maybe even got it for free. I was like wondering if the lady was going to come back or not. Like, it was like, you know, by the time that this all got figured out, she was probably all the way across town somewhere else doing another delivery or picking something up. But she had to come all the way back and do that. And I was thinking in my mind, like, two different ways. I was thinking, wonder what would happen if I would have brought that in. Like, there's nothing they could have done, right? If I bring that food in, I just start gobbling this down at like 10:30 at night. I'm just like eating McDonald's like crazy, living my best life. That would have been interesting had she come back. But my bigger concern, not only with the DoorDash person, but with doing that, would have been my neighbor. They probably saw the photo. Like it gets texted to you or it's on DoorDash or whatever. It's been a while since I've done it because DoorDash is very expensive. But they would have seen our house. Like she took the picture from pretty far away. They would have known that was our house and that we stole their food. So I was thankful that I didn't do it because like I was tossing that around in my mind for a long time during this 20 minutes. I'm just like, oh my gosh. How could I just turn down McDonald's just sitting out there waiting for me? It's going to sit out there all night, you know? But I had a feeling she's going to come back. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't do that. It also would have been like, I don't know. I definitely made the right decision, but in my mind at that moment, it was really something that I was like trying to figure out. But anyways, that's kind of the DoorDash McDonald's thing that happened last weekend. I think it was a test. You know, as much as I thought maybe it was my prayers being answered, like, you know, I'm so hungry. I would kill for some McDonald's food. There's McDonald's. I wasn't actively thinking that, but man, it would have been good in the moment. Maybe what it really was a test. It's like, what's your willpower, Greg? Can this bag of McDonald's sit on your front porch and you restrain yourself from getting it? I'll say this. I was able to, right? But if this was like during normal business hours during the day, like say me and Clark were here and all of a sudden like this food just gets dropped off and there's chicken nuggets in there and hamburgers and stuff, I think I would have had a much harder time. But in my mind, I was like, you know, what good is this going to be if I go and eat this food at 11 o'clock at night? It's just going to be like fat. And then when I come back here to tell you guys my weight loss results, you're going to be like, see, Greg, it was because you ate that darn McDonald's. That's the reason you failed. No, it was something else that made me fail. It was actually the next day. And this temptation I could not resist. Cody was having a class in the late afternoon into the evening with some friends of hers. It's like a woman's class. And I really encouraged her to do it because I thought, you know, this would be great for her to like be with other women and it's like empowering and stuff like that. But that left Clark and I home alone. And Clark and I home alone is a very dangerous thing in many ways. Specifically because at dinner time, I was like, you know, it would be really fun to do? Get a pizza. And there's this pizza place that I've been wanting to go to for a long time. It's by the seafood place that we go to. And I always look at it, I'm like, I need to try that because I like to try pizza of all types, you know. I want to create a YouTube channel. This is my like ultimate life goal. I want to create a YouTube channel called Pizza, Pretzels, and Pickles, where I go around just eating those items. Not all in succession, but like at various places. They're like my jams. Pizza, pretzels, pickles. Soft pretzels, by the way. I would love that. That's, you know, life goals. I think I could probably pull this off. I don't know if the audience is there, but I think if we combine the pizza audience with the pretzel audience and pickle audience, we might have something going for ourselves. And you know why I think it's possible? Because my father-in-law watches this channel where it's like a husband and wife or like boyfriend and girlfriend, and all they do is go around and they play mini golf at various places. And I'm like, you know, if they can do that, surely I can do pizza, pretzels, and pickles. It's just it's a match made in heaven for my for my tastes. So back to the pizza side of things, I was like, I want to go to this pizza place. We need to try it. I call them. They're closed on Sunday. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try another pizza place, the one that we usually go to. And they're notorious for like being super busy. So I call them and I'm like, what's the wait? I don't even say anything. I'm like, what's the wait? They're like an hour and 15 minutes. I'm like, all right, never mind. So I was like, you know what? There's another pizza place. And it's formerly owned by the son of the owner of my favorite pizza place of all time. And I was like, you know what, if this is like that, and it's like that real good, like OIP pizza, if you know, you know, like we're talking like thick dough, thick crust, like a nice sweet sauce, excellent cheese, pepperonis, the whole works. Some of you are salivating right now. And if you're on a weight loss journey, I apologize because even myself, like I'm gonna like just leave right now and go get some pizza after talking about this. But we got this pizza. It's from a place called Filippo's. You know, with a name like Filippo's, it's gonna be good. And Clark and I brought that pizza home, and my goodness, it was delicious. And I didn't stop at just one piece. And I'm sure the calories were off the charts. I didn't stop at 2 pieces. I ate like 3 pieces that night. And I might even eat like half of Clark's piece. I just completely binged. After a month of just really watching myself, I just needed this. Like I needed this more than you can imagine, just for sanity's sake. And I'm sure like having a cheat day or cheat meal isn't bad, but I went really hard on this one. And as a result, I paid because that day that I weighed in with you, that was Friday. I weigh in that's my official weigh-in is on Fridays because we're leaving for our trip on a Saturday. So every Friday is like, this is like 5 weeks out, 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out. Like we're going down, right? I was up 2 pounds on that Monday from that Friday. So this week, and some of that was like water weight and stuff, because you're eating a lot of salt with that pizza and whatnot. But this week has been essentially me working that off. And I got back down. So I'm down, I was up 2, and I guess that makes me feel better about this week. I was up 2 on Monday from where I was Friday. And now this Friday, I'm down 1.8. So technically, I lost 3.8 pounds. It just so happened to be like I went up. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that makes sense. And I know, like, these episodes, some of you aren't interested in fitness, weight loss, any of this stuff. But again, I like to kind of detail what I'm doing because I know, like, not everybody's perfect, Not every week you can be like, dude, I lost 4 pounds this week. And then you're listening to this and you're like, oh, crap, I ate a giant pizza because I was starving for it and I only lost 1.8. I feel like a loser. No, man, we're all doing this together. Well, some of us are. And in listener feedback, we'll get some of your stories, which I really appreciate. But I share my story as not as a boast or brag or anything like that. It's certainly not that. And that can be for anything that I talk about here. It's mainly just to share my journey and like invite you to go on it too. And maybe it can encourage somebody out there. It's like, I could lose 1.8 pounds. You're like, I have 1.8 pounds of fat on me. And if you do, I swear to God, I'm coming after you. Yeah, you can do this. You can do it. Just really focus on what you're doing. And this week, that's my plan. I'm really going for a strong push this week. If McDonald's gets delivered any time of the day to my house from Door Dash uninvited, that was free food too. I keep dreaming about it. I'm resisting. I'm going to really go on a calorie cut this week, and I'm going to really try to do the best that I can. Right now, I'm 6.1 pounds from my goal. And like, I feel it. My first goal. Then I want to lose about another 10 pounds after that. And then I'll be right where I want to be. So I'm about 16 over. But like at my pace that I'm at, 11 pounds in January. Today's the 27th. I started in the 3rd. So we're 24 days, 11 pounds. Like I could have this done in February. Isn't that crazy? The problem is we're going to Hawaii in February. And when I go to Hawaii, all bets are off. I'm going to enjoy the food there. I'm not going to be sitting there eating my hard-boiled egg for lunch and my pickle as much as I enjoy the pickle. I'm going in. So I'm kind of like preparing myself for that. I know I'm going to come back heavier, but we'll just keep working at it and keep working it off. And I'm going to continue sharing my journey. And I might even do more of that. I feel like, what I've been doing a lot of this week has been elliptical. And I put it in no 0 days here and there, but I don't want every day to be like, I did 30 minutes in elliptical. I did 30, it's like, I think that's going to get old. And I've also realized that with like sharing of like video editing and making videos, like you guys don't care about that. You want to see like more of like actual stuff. You don't be like, I edited a video today. No, we need to move on from those kind of things. So I might share like other fitness things I'm doing. I'm still going to the gym, and maybe that kind of contributed. Like this week I went really hard at the gym, and I find that when I do the gym a lot, the weight doesn't come off as much too. So hopefully building muscle. Either way, let's just say we'll end with this now that we're way deep into this episode already. Making progress. Down 1.8 is good enough for me. Not quite where I want to be, but hey, you start adding that up. Time and pressure, I talk to you guys about all the time. 1.8. We do that next week, 1.8. We do that next week, 1.8. Like it happens. It happens right before our eyes. And if you like add up the calories from that, this is my last thing I'll say. 3,500 calories in a pound times 1.8. That's 6,300 calories that I was in a deficit this week. That's major. So I either burnt that off or didn't eat those calories. 6,300 calories. Do you realize how many bags of chips you would sit down and eat for 6,300 calories? How many sodas you can drink for that? I drank all those in the past, and now I undrank them this week, and it feels darn good. So I encourage you to do some of that. Let's move on to a new topic and a new hobby. Thanks, Ronnie. I know you're listening to this, you weasel. He got me into Pokemon. I try to resist. I have these friends that are into various hobbies, and I've resisted them really well in the past. Like, people have tried getting me into Funko Pops. I'm like, no. If I start Funko Popping, if that's a verb, my entire wall behind me will be Funko. Like, I won't be able to stop. I'll be looking at them on deals. I'll be searching for them. I'll be trying to get, like, exclusive ones, the chase ones, whatever they are. I'll be, like, going nuts. And I've resisted those, and I've resisted Ronnie's Pokemon interest for a long time. I use the word interest lightly here because it's more of a passion. Some maybe say an obsession. And when I hear the word obsession, I'm your guy. I have an obsessive personality, I want to say. So this new Pokemon collection came out. It's called Crown Zenith. And it came out last Friday. And he was like, hey, man, for $50, you can get yourself an Elite Trainer box that includes 10 packs of cards, a booklet that shows all of the cards you could potentially get. You get some sleeves, you get some dice and some markers and all these things that I would never use. But I'm intrigued by the the 10 packs of cards. And I was like, it would be kind of fun. I bought a bunch of Pokemon cards at a yard sale last year. What if I were to use the money from those sales, if I sell them on eBay, to like get myself a Pokemon fund, and I never actually go through my own money, right? Like all I do is sell Pokemon cards in order to buy more Pokemon cards just for the activity of doing it. And then I can make videos like open them up and sharing it without really much knowledge. Like the people that are going to watch these videos, and spoiler alert, I did make a video opening this box this week with Clark, man. They're going to know a lot more about Pokemon than us, but I thought, man, this could be kind of fun. It's like something to do, right? Especially in the winter months. You can just sit there and open up some cards. I used to love cards as a kid, and I've told this story here, I know, on Missing Pieces because Ronnie knew the story. And that was that I was really loving like basketball and football cards. And the way that I would collect them when I was a kid, before I knew about money, was if it's a player that I like or like a pose that I like the artistry of the cards. And Pokemon's great for that. But then that was ruined for me by a friend when I did a trade with him. It was a Brett Favre card. I still remember the card. And it was kind of a whack card. It was just him with his helmet off, like with his arm up, like throwing the football. Like it wasn't from a game or anything. And then like the next day after we traded, he's like, hey, that card was worth $7. And I'm like, what? And he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, he has this Tough Stuff guide, which is a guide for like card listings. And there was Beckett as well. And then I got obsessed with that. Every card that I had, I took like, they were all in like the pages, the sheet protectors or whatever with like the little dividers in them. I took a little piece of like masking tape and I'd write the price of that card on that masking tape and then stick it on there. So like this card's worth 50 cents. This card's worth 75 cents. This card's worth $1.75. And like the whole hobby for me became all about the money. It was like, I can't make a trade with you if it's not worth it. And I was always trying to get like the right cards with the right prices, and it completely ruined everything. It's another example of money ruining your life. Like this was maybe this is why I go try to do this quest of going back to being a kid again, at least in my heart. It's like that ruined the hobby for me. I just was having fun collecting cards, and it was such an innocent thing to do. And then like in that one moment where you introduced the fact that these cards have values, that changed it all. And I'm kind of like worried about the Pokemon thing because I'm going into it with the values in mind. Like as soon as I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, is this card worth something? This card worth something? I can still appreciate the art, but the money side's there and it's never going away. But that doesn't mean that I can't enjoy the cards. And I'm going to keep the ones that I really like, but I'm going to try to sell off the ones that are super valuable because they're most likely worth more to someone else than they are to me. And I just kind of want to keep it rolling so I can keep getting more cards. And I bought another box too. So I'm definitely in the hole now. I bought a $90 or $95 box. So you can see how this is 1 week. It's a dangerous hobby to get into, but I think I made enough money through like valuable cards in that first box that I'll be able to sell those to make the $50 up. And then I still have all of the yard sale ones, which there were some bangers in there too. This box it's 15 packs, so it should be similar. And I'm just going to keep having fun with this until I realize it's not fun anymore or it takes up too much space, which, speaking of that, it does take up way less space than Lego. Like Lego collecting, massive boxes, all this space, especially if you have like unbuilt sets in storage, which I do. A box of Pokemon cards, a fraction of that. So it is kind of nice in that regard. But I'll say it's dangerous. So if you're like thinking about it, wait until I come back like in a few weeks or months and I'm like, guys, getting into Pokemon was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. Don't do it. Learn from my mistakes. That's all I have to offer you. So we did that. Another cool thing that happened, speaking of new things, let's talk about new things in gaming. I told you before that I've been really kind of interested in getting into the world of Farming Simulator 22. And speaking of obsessions, I did that this week, and my goodness, that game is amazing. Amazing because hours can pass in your day and you don't even realize it because you're out farming on your field. You're out harvesting the grain and stuff like that. And I played this game probably about 6 or 7 hours this week. I did like 4 episodes on my gaming channel where I stream myself playing this. And the game is really fun, but also very frustrating. It's frustrating because they don't hold your hand whatsoever. They don't give you much for tutorials, and you're kind of just thrown into this world of farming without really any knowledge unless you are a farmer. And you're just like, okay, what do I need to get this straw? Or what do I need to do this job? And it's like, oh crap, I have no idea what to do. Tutorials sometimes help. What has helped me the most though is there's always like 1 or 2 people in the chat that know what they're doing sometimes. and they help me out. But man, it's a daunting task becoming a farmer, even digitally. But I've been enjoying it. I have my farm has all of its fields planted, and like all the fields are good. Like you have to put lime down, fertilizer, all that stuff. I've got chickens now, so life is complete in that regard. But now I am doing jobs for other people called contracts, so I can build up money, because everything that I do costs money, and every mistake that I make costs money. Like I'm leasing machinery to do stuff, and sometimes it's not the right thing. And it's like, wow, I just spent $3,000 in game currency, doing this. I mean, it's not my money. I'm not putting money into the game. And this is on Game Pass, by the way, so you can play it for free if you have that. It's just it's a fun thing to do. My only concern about this game is the amount of time I'm putting into it without really much to show. Like I mentioned, I've got my fields planted, I've got some chickens, but I've also spent 6 hours in this game. And if you compare that with like a single player game or like a playthrough of something, I don't know, like God of War, or, name that game, you'd be like into the story pretty deep now, right? Like 6 hours in, you're progressing. This, I feel like I'm just like scratching the surface, and it could be fun for that, like to do episode after episode after episode of this could be really fun. But I just wonder if is the juice worth the squeeze? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like debating that, kind of going back and forth. There's so many other games that I could be playing. The interesting thing about this, though, you would think that Farming Simulator, and this, in my mind, this is what I thought, there's not going to be much of an interest in this. I can't imagine anyone wanting to watch me like run a farm, doing tractors, having a truck, harvesters, combines, things like that. Surprisingly, this game is actually as popular, if not more popular on my channel than Minecraft was. And I don't know if it's because it kind of has like that Minecraft element where you're starting with nothing and kind of working your way up through the activities that you do, because that is like an appeal of Minecraft. But this and American Truck Simulator, these guys like the simulator games. So I'm kind of excited about that. Way more interest from the audience that I have than when I play like the old Atari games or vintage games, which I like. I like a lot of everything, if you can't tell, and I'm definitely more of a variety guy than like pick one game and do that forever. There are people that are wildly successful, and I'll encourage you with this. If you have a video game that you love to play and you've played it like every day of your life and plan to continue doing that, you should probably start streaming that, because if you just like niche down all the way into like one thing in particular, the YouTube algorithm loves you. Like if I was doing Farming Simulator episode 258 right now, I'd have so many people following that. It would be insane, even if I'm not good at the game. And that's kind of like the direction that I'm coming from. Mellowcat's watching me right now while I'm doing this episode. And I think that's the take that I'm going to go with chess as well. We'll talk about that and listener feedback. I'm just going to be like, hey, dude, I basically know how the moves work or like how the pieces work, but I don't have much strategy beyond that. I'm going to continue playing and possibly failing at chess until I'm good. And hopefully I can get people that are interested in watching that. Otherwise, it's hard to justify the time spent. But if I can entertain people, that's like my gauge. If I can entertain people, I can justify putting time into it. And I guess that's my answer for Farming Simulator. Other fun thing that happened this week, as we jump around here, we finally got some snow. Not much of it, enough to basically cover the grass. But here we are. It's like the end of January, and I'm not trying to like jinx myself or anything. But the only other time that we got snow this year was when we were in Disney. We were in Florida, and we looked at the like security cams as we're sitting, and it's actually raining down there that day. I was gonna say it was like the beautiful sunny day. Like this in my mind, this would be for a great story. It's a beautiful sunny day. We're like swimming at the pool, and then we look at the camera, and it's like, snow dumping in Pennsylvania. That would have been like kind of fun to see. But it was actually raining that day at Disney Springs, and we got snow that day. Our neighbor came over, plowed the driveway, and by the time we got home, that was, it was it. This week we actually did get some snow. This is about 6 weeks later or something like that. And we got enough snow that Clark and I could go out and sled ride, and we had so much fun. Of course we made a video. I filmed the whole thing, but and you'll see it coming up in like probably the next No Zero days or a couple after that, depending on how much footage I have this week. But it was great to finally get out and sled ride. Now, if that's the only snow we get this year, I'm okay with that. But it was cool to get to do that. So that was probably like the highlight of my week, was going out and sled riding with Clark, man. And we were doing some fun stuff. Like we were both going down on our bellies, and he'd be like right in front of me. And like when we get to the end and almost out of energy, I would give him like a huge like push, almost like some nos, and send him a little bit further. And he got on like his little bike thing and put that on the sled and was going down it. It was fun stuff. So I was happy about that. What I wasn't happy about this week, I'm realizing now that we spend half the episode talking about weight loss, and now I'm like, blue, 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 blue. Hopefully you're okay with that. Roxy had surgery this week. And leading into this, I guess I should tell you what was going on with her. She had this thing on the side of her head, right in front of her ear, like you know how dogs' ears come down? In most cases, you couldn't see it. But we noticed it a while back, and at the vet, we mentioned it to her, and she was like, yeah, that's just a wart. That's like an old lady wart. Dogs can get warts. I'm like, okay, cool. She's like, we can take it off, but it'd be a cosmetic thing and not really necessary. And I was like, okay, we're just going to leave it. You know, Roxy's an old girl. This kind of thing happened. But what had happened in the meantime is that wart continued to grow, and it started looking pretty bad. And I was like, we should probably get this looked at. And I took her back in, and they're like, yeah, this looks like a tumor to me. I was like, great, that's it's awesome, only it's not. And they're like, well, we should definitely remove this. Can we do some blood work on her now just to see if any of her levels are off? Because we need to make sure she's okay for surgery, because they're going to have to put her under to do it. And she had like a little cyst on her eye, so they're doing like a 2-for-1, if you will. So they did the blood work. Everything came back good, which means that if that is like a cancerous type thing that's malignant, it hasn't entered her organs or her bones or anything like that. So what we're hoping for, it was just like a superficial thing on her head that was growing. Also, her kidneys are good, heart's good, everything's good except for she has arthritis. So some of her levels, I forget what that's related to, are high simply because she has inflammation from arthritis. But again, there's not much you can do about that. We do give her a pill for like joint pain that I pay a lot of money for, and I have no idea whether it's doing anything for her, but I'm like, you know, what does it hurt? I suppose. So this week she had surgery, and I was feeling like a whole lot of dread going into this. I was like, man, last time Roxy had surgery, it was when she had like her ACLs done. Her knees were basically shot. She was 2-3 years younger then. Now she's, you know, going on 12 years old this year. And I'm like, man, I just had this bad feeling about putting her under. I just have this feeling like something, like she's not going to come out of it, or something detrimental is going to happen afterwards. And I was like, well, we got to get this thing off of her, because if this continues to grow, eventually this tumor is going to be the size of her head. She's going to be like one of those people you see on the show, Dr. Pimple Popper. If you've never watched that show, don't. Disgusting. Cody and Clark like watching it. Think of like this lady like getting these, oh God, I can't even talk about it. Don't look it up. It's like when someone tells you not to do something, you now want to do it more. Just don't, okay? You'll thank me later, especially if you're eating. If you just went and got some pizza or McDonald's based on this episode, don't do it while you're eating at the very least, okay? That's my request. But back to Roxy. As we get on our side tangents here. She ended up having the surgery yesterday, and everything was good. They took the thing off of her, stitched her up. They actually did stitches that are kind of like under the skin and then glued it so she doesn't have to have the stitches removed later. They took the little cyst off her eye, cauterized that. She came home like very like out of it, like just walking into walls and stuff. She had a cone on, which probably didn't help because they don't want her like scratching at it. She ate food last night. She seemed pretty happy with that. She did throw up a little bit here and there, which they said could be expected because they had a tube down her throat for breathing, and that can cause irritation. But she seems to be doing well. She's sleeping a lot today, and I think she's going to be back to her normal self. I'm just hoping, again, like the anesthesia stuff doesn't like negatively affect her, because I've heard that in older adults, and I don't know if it's the same in dogs, and I asked them about this. I was like, is there going to be any effects of the anesthesia? And they said, well, after it wears off, she should be fine. It can cause like dementia and like loss of like your cognitive skills. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with her. But she seems like her normal self, just sleeping all day. And we'll leave her some time to kind of rehabilitate, and she should be back to being good old Roxy Bear. So I'm glad to have that done, and I'm just hoping that we can go just like a few months without any dog drama. And that's, I guess, something that comes along with having an older pet. You're going to start running into these things. They start becoming very expensive, but it's, you know, they're your family. So you're going to do whatever you can to take care of them. Thankfully, this surgery wasn't nearly as expensive as doing the ACL one. This was just over $500, and half of that was getting the biopsy done on the tumor thing. And we could have, they said, you know, you don't have to do that. You know, it's, if it's benign or malignant, nothing really changes. Like we're going to continue on with life, you know, but if it is malignant, I'd like to know so Just like we talked about like the last time or the last one, at least I know like, man, our time is coming to a very rapid end here, and I got to soak this in as much as I can. And I guess there's some peace in knowing too, or maybe some peace in not knowing. Ignorance is bliss, as they say, but I paid the money to find out. And if it is bad, then we're going to make the best of the time that we have. So that's the Roxy update. I'll update you next week. Again, I think she's just going to keep doing better and better each day. But now that we had some like mysterious news, we had some good news, some bad news, some good news again. Let's go into 3 questions. This is the series where I answer 3 questions from the We Connect card box. I decided just to start throwing this in these episodes because I feel like, maybe it just works. It's not super long. I got 3 questions here. Green is easy, medium's a little bit harder, purple is something that requires you to think within yourself. My first one here, the easy one, is what is a fun... Wait a minute. This is last week's. Where's my new cards? I think I left them upstairs. Please hold. Sorry about that. I was upstairs doing my outline for this while I was watching Rox while Cody was getting a shower because we had her cone off. I didn't want to leave that cone on her all day, so I left my cards up there. Here's our new questions. It'd be helpful to answer new questions each week. This says, what do you have on your refrigerator door? It's an easy one. Lots of condiments. I love ketchup. Is probably my favorite condiment. I put ketchup on a lot of things, probably more than what's acceptable socially. But I love trying sauces of all kinds. I've tried like every barbecue sauce. I try hot sauces. I try like sweet chili sauces. I have like 4 different hot sauces. So my entire refrigerator door, at least like the right side, is nothing but various sauces. And I have no apologies for that because I love sauce. And speaking of chicken nuggets from earlier, anytime we have chicken nuggets, I'll get those out and then I'll have like 6-7 sauces just on the table and I'll be dipping all kinds of crazy stuff. So my refrigerator door, condiments like crazy. That's what I like to do. Next one, you can see how fast this goes. What is one personality trait that you admire in others? And the funny thing is, this actually came up in Ronnie's podcast recently, and I'll answer the same way, I guess. I admire people that are goal-driven, people that have a purpose, people that aren't just existing in the world, people that are like, and this is kind of what I've learned with the weight loss thing, kind of circling back around. I've realized that if I want something, and I focus on it and I put the work in, I'll get it. And I always tell you guys this, like this works in almost any aspect of your life. Before, the reason my weight was getting out of hand was because it wasn't something that I was thinking about. I would not get on the scale purposely because I knew the news wasn't even going to be good. I wouldn't even go into our exercise room. I wasn't going to the gym prior to September of this year. I was just letting things go and I wasn't like managing it. So when you start managing things, or if you have a goal in mind and you're driven towards that goal, you'll start to see things happen. I'm down 11 pounds this month just because I decided that I was going to make this happen. That's the type of people, and I guess I'm putting myself in this group, but that's a personality trait that I admire in other people. I like people that are like out there getting it. It's inspiring, It's like you see somebody that's like super driven. I love that. You can't take it too far, and I have taken my drives and like my passions and goals way too far in the past and gotten way out of balance. And there is like a culture now almost like within the workspace where it's like that hustle culture or grind culture where it's like, I'm going to work 150 hours a week. I'm going to sleep 2 hours a night. I'm never taking any breaks, all this. I think that's kind of bogus. But if there's something in your life that you feel called to like go get, or something that you want to do for yourself or even for someone else, you can make that happen. So I admire people that are like that. That's what I like to see in people. I don't want to see people that just kind of go by the wayside, It's like, not in my hands. I'm just going to exist. Don't just exist, guys. I'll respect you more if you don't. I do want you to exist, though. Continue existing, but like have goals. Okay. Let's move on to the purple question here. What is this? Oh man, this is going to be an embarrassing answer. What is the most adventurous thing you've ever done? I'm not an adventurous person. I'm a guy that builds Lego sets and makes videos. I'd say probably the most adventurous thing, and probably the thing that caused me a little bit of stress was probably traveling to the UK, doing that trip, just because we're like not just going to, like we're getting on a plane, traveling internationally, and then we were going from one location in Scotland to York, then down to London, and trying to like do all that and then make sure you have all the logistics planned out. And it was helpful having Cody, but that was probably our most adventurous thing we've done so far. I've never like did like skydiving or like rock climbing. I've never climbed Mount Everest. So I've never done anything like truly adventurous in my opinion. And maybe that's something I need to change. I need to take probably some more risks in my life. But it's almost like harder to take risks as you get older and you have people relying on you. And you have like connections in your life. The best time to be adventurous is probably like right out of high school and like into your 20s. It's like, you're not married, maybe you don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend. Your parents are obviously going to be worried about you, but like you can go and do anything and like try a lot of stuff. When you're in your 30s, like the next decade, and you've got a kid and you've got a wife, you got a house, you got insurance, you got all this stuff and you got worries, it's a lot harder. And I would imagine when you get into their 40s or 50s, when health starts not being as great as it is when you're in your younger years, that probably becomes another obstacle too. So even more reason to do things that are adventurous. I mentioned before, like the thing that I really want to do, but the only thing holding me back is how disconnected I'd be from my family. I'd really love to do hike the entire Appalachian Trail. That's something that I think would be really amazing and would be life transforming to see how little you can get by on. You're basically carrying what you have on your back and going all the way from Georgia to Maine and showing yourself that, once again, if you put your mind to something, you can make it happen. You can do it. And I said, the only thing that would stop me from doing it, if I went out there and I stepped foot on the trail, the only thing that would stop me would be death or a broken bone. Those are the only things that would stop me, or health related thing, I guess. Like if you got friggin', I don't know. I was going to say dysentery. I don't know if that would be a thing. Maybe. Major health problems. Let's just go with that. So those are the answer to the three questions. You can see now why I wouldn't want to make that its own episode. It's just kind of a short little thing. If you feel like answering any of those, you're welcome to. And we have a few answers to last week's question coming up in listener feedback, which I'm getting into right now. First one is from Builderbuds, also known as Ronnie, the guy that got my life turned upside down, Fresh Prince, into Pokemon. He says, I commend you on your hardcore January shred-a-thon. It's amazing that you lost all the weight in such a short time after taking more than a year to put it on. Yeah. Weight loss is absolutely a mental game and one that I have lost more than one in my life. However, this is the year I find that balance. It will be fun to watch your journey as you reintroduce more foods back into your diet after your vacation. Yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes. But yeah, I think what's going to happen, I'm going to go crazy on our trip. Maybe not too crazy. Like I was actually thinking, and I know this really is becoming like a fitness podcast, I think we're going to be burning a lot of calories on that trip. So I'm hoping to not go up by too much. But when I come back, I'm not going to reintroduce. I'm going to keep going until I hit my goal. And when I hit my goal, I'm going to go back to normal, but I'm going to be monitoring my weight every day. I'm going to weigh in every single day. And if I see that go up, I know I made bad decisions and I need to do something to offset that. If you just manage it, it's so much easier. Don't be like me in 2022 and be like, I'm just not going to get on the scale because I don't want to see the bad news. That's the worst thing you can do because then you don't even know how bad you're doing. Andrew says, I love listening and watching your podcast. I've been subbed to all your channels for years now, and I just really enjoy the content you make. Way to go on your fitness goals. This is the part that I like. He says, I've just gone past 1 full year smoke-free. I had smoked since I was 14 years old. I'll be 44 this year, so I had a minute or two of smoking. LOL. So glad I'd given up on it, though. My next goal is my fitness and get rid of this dad gut. I love that, man. My parents, I've never got into smoking. My parents both smoked, and they always said, don't do this. And you look at the expense of it, you look at what it does to you physically, the smell of it. It's that if there's anything to stop doing, and maybe we have some smokers listening to this, if there's anything you could do for yourself, stopping smoking would be like the best thing. Probably also the hardest thing because there's a mental addiction to it and a physical addiction to it. And I've never actually been addicted to anything before, but I would definitely be a person that would have a hard time like dropping something like that, which is why I'm glad I don't drink or do drugs or smoke, because if I did that, I would do it to such an extreme level that I would probably die. And I would not have the willpower to stop. Like I barely had enough willpower to not go down and eat a McDonald's hamburger that was sitting cold on a front porch step for 20 minutes. There's no way that I could resist that next drink or that next smoke or whatever. So for me, I can never get into that stuff, and I'm trying to instill that into Clark, man. I can't see him ever doing that, but you know how kids are when they become teens and adults. They experiment with things. I just hope that it doesn't become a problem. But good on you, man. Proud of you for stopping smoking for a year. I would assume that once you've done a year, you're in the clear, I would assume. Although maybe it's a constant battle. I would imagine every time you go to a place where there's cigarettes there or people are smoking, you're probably tempted by it. I know I would be. Like even just the food thing, walking into like a restaurant and you're looking at all the food and stuff, probably be salivating. But I think you can do the fitness thing too. That'd be amazing. Just think that. You come back a year from now, you're like, not only did I stop smoking 2 years ago, I also lost all this weight, and just like, wow. And then people come up to you and you're like, what's going on with you, man? And you're like, well, listen, this is what I've been doing. Brandon says, I like this comment. He says, I'm in calorie count and riding a bike on Zwift. Zwift gives pizza slices burned on rides, with pizza being my absolute favorite, plus eating entire pie into perspective. Oh God, I don't want to know the numbers. How much Zwifting would I have to do to eat 3 giant slices of like original Italian pizza slices? Probably a lot. I was actually looking into Zwift because I watched this guy that does it, and it looks cool. Like it's almost like a screen in front of you, and you're riding your bike digitally. It's like a video game, but what you're doing on like the bike and the attachment they give you is translated to that game. The only thing I'd be lacking is like a proper like road bike, because you almost have to put a bike into this. Like it's like I think it goes on your rear wheel, and as you spin, it tallies it all up. That'd be pretty darn cool. And then you can always take your bike outside and do it too. But I love the fact that they give you the pizza slices burned. I would ride a lot of bike to get a pizza slice. I would be willing to do it. I would ride. And you'll have to leave me a comment, Brandon, if you're watching this week. Let me know how long you have to be on your bike and how much work you have to put in to burn one pizza slice. I kind of want to know, and I kind of don't want to know. Oh my gosh, this next one here, I love this. I asked a question last week, what is something you'll never forget, or a day you'll never forget? That was one of the 3 questions. In fact, I still have it here because I almost asked it again. What is one moment in time you'll never forget? See, I had this for a reason. And the Vasvis boys, who I never say their name right, and I apologize, he's probably unsubscribed, says, the day I'll never forget is the day I got occupancy to the house I pretty much built by myself. My wife and I worked so hard for 4 years building the house and working our full-time jobs. When I finally got the occupancy permit and we could legally move in, it was the best feeling ever. I watched your Atari video and it was pretty neat. I remembered playing some of the games. I would play chess with you. Haven't played in over 25 years. Keep up the great work. Thank you for what you do. Dude, first of all, I'd love to play chess with you. You're even not playing for 25 years, you're probably going to be better than me, but I can learn from you, which would be great. And that's a whole nother thing. Like we could play as a community. That'd be so much fun. Maybe you'll meet some other chess buddies. We could start a chess Discord or something. I love your story here. Like, to me, that's talk about being driven and having a goal. That's the epitome of it right there. Like, you worked 4 years towards something that you really wanted, and I couldn't imagine that day where you're just like, I'm done. This is it, man. It gives me goosebumps even thinking about it. Congratulations for you. And the money that you saved yourself in doing that, amazing. So congrats. I love hearing your guys' success stories. This is like inspiring me. I'm ready to go run around the house a couple times just hearing about all the stuff you guys do. We got another one here from Zero the Hero. It says chess would be amazing. Would maybe make kids look into it and use their brains. Wouldn't that be something? It would be awesome to play with you. See, I got 2 people now that'd be willing to play. Not every episode for Greg's Arcade it's definitely not for everyone. Yeah, I wouldn't want it just to be Greg's chess channel. I think that might be a little much, but here and there it's sprinkled in. He says, whatever happened to piano lessons? Oh my God. You talk about me failing. I can't balance it all. And that became like low priority, and I haven't played it in months. It's in our office now because we turned our front room into like a actual proper sitting room. So that's in the office, and I need to get back into it because I paid for like a year of the Simply Piano, and I need to like take advantage of that before I have to pay for it again. He says, amazing job with weight loss. Need to take those carbs for muscle growth, though. It's a teachable moment. That's what the guy I was watching last week when he was playing chess and supposedly being like a teacher. Every time he would lose or something bad would happen, he's like, it's a teachable moment. And it just had me rolling. He says, great episode as always. Does the farming game have a VR option? It may. I haven't gotten into that. And he says, can't wait for the Hawaii trip. Safe travels, by the way. Love the flannel. We covered everything. Thank you. Thank you very much for all of that. But yeah, that would be kind of fun to play chess with everybody. It's got me thinking now. We could make this a thing. And I could make a video series titled Getting Beat by Every One of My Fans at Chess. Would be kind of cool. And Donut Dragging Firms. Chess is a game. It goes on the gaming channel. Because the reason I was debating it, obviously chess is a game, but like, is doing crossword puzzles a game, is doing artwork a game. Greg's World is like all encompassing and could be anything. And sometimes I regret like even starting these other channels. I know the Lego thing I've went super hard on, and that would have been like way too much Lego for the Greg's World audience. Like not everybody's there just for the Lego, but there's so many other things that I do that if I just tailored some of those back, I think they all could have been on one channel, and it would have really helped for the growth of that. Because like growing Brickatech to as big as it was, just think if all that would have been concentrated, and like growing in the arcade channel, a lot of it is the same people kind of going about each of them. And I do like to have a place for people to go for content that they want. Like this podcast, for example. This is not the content that the vast majority of the Greg's World audience wants to consume. This just ain't it, and that's understandable. There's a small slice though that really like this, and I feel like having this on its own place where you can know and expect it, not only on YouTube but also as an audio thing, is nice for that reason. But for everybody, like people that come there when they subscribe for RC videos, why is this guy sitting here talking for an hour about McDonald's sitting on his front porch step? I don't care about that. And that's fine. That's totally fine. I'm a little hurt. No, I'm just kidding. I love content like this personally. And I guess we're all drawn to the stuff that interests us. But this for me, if I could find more people that make audio journal stuff where I feel like I can come along on their journey. There was this guy that I used to like that originally like was doing this, and I've never seen it before. For years ago, I remember living at our original house back in like 2012 probably. And I remember going for a walk and listening to his podcast that was called Pursuing a Balanced Life, where he would just talk about his wife and kids and stuff. And I love that, but he doesn't really do that anymore. Now he just kind of like tries selling people on his coaching, and it just completely turned me off. Like, I don't care about that. I want to know about you as a person. I don't care about your coaching thing or your business. I mean, somewhat your business, I guess, because that's a part of life, but I just want to know, like, what are you up to? Like, what shows you watch and what are you into? Speaking of shows, dang it, I forgot to put this on the list. We finally finished House of Dragon. What can I say about it without spoiling it? I'll say I'm waiting for season 2. I was hoping it would be a self-contained thing. Oh my God, it gets like really hyped at the end, and then you're just like left waiting. And I looked it up. I'm like, when's season 2 coming? And they're like 2 days ago in pre-production. I'm like, oh, it's going to be like 2024 before it comes out. We started another show on HBO. I'm trying to justify keeping HBO Max, as I talked about before. And I'm thinking about, or we're watching White Lotus. We watched like half an episode before Clarkman came home. Again, not an appropriate show. And that's what really hinders our show watching, is if Cody and I are trying to watch a show together, it has to be when Clarkman's at school, which simultaneously is when I'm trying to get as much work done as I can. And she's like also doing like writing and reading, and the challenge is real. So it like took us months to get through House of Dragon, mainly because again, I wasn't putting the time into it, the dedication, but we made it. It's like 10 episodes. White Lotus is like 6. We're watching season 1. We're also going to watch the Glass Onion Knives Out thing, which is kind of like a game of Clue in video. That's all on HBO. And Last of Us is now out too, which the game, I own the game for PS4, I think. I got it on a super deal, but I'm too scared to play it because those survival horror games scare the heck out of me. Like, I don't know what it is, like Resident Evil, things like that. When there's like zombies and things coming for you, I just have so much like anxiety and stress that I just can't even put myself in that situation. I just want to run across the screen as Mario and step on poops, or I want to drive my tractor through a cotton field and harvest the cotton. or play some chess. And that can be intimidating and causing anxiety as well. But the survival horror genre is just, it's too much for me. I can watch someone else play it, but if I'm in control of the character, I just can't. So maybe watching it, I can just sit there and like bite my fingernails while I watch the actual show. But I've heard good things. We had like a would you rather question come through, which I'm thankful for. We're going to add a segment, would you rather. So if you do anything in this episode, give me a would you rather or an either or type thing for next week. This is from Squirrel. He says, Greg, would you rather travel to a new location for vacation or go to one you've been in the past? Well, that's really hard because there's so many places I haven't been, and we've had great places that we've been before. Like we've done the Disney thing twice. We go to the same place like every summer for our vacations. So we do a lot of going back, but I think ultimately I'd like to go to a new place. I think anybody is genuinely curious. Like if you had the options. One thing though is like if you find a place you really like, sometimes it is nice to go back, because you're comfortable there. You like this about it, or you like the place to eat. Like Captain George's, for example, my favorite crab place. in North Carolina, sometimes you do go back. So for this one, I'm going to choose a new place, and Hawaii is definitely going to be that for us. Like, it's going to be amazing. We're going to Maui, by the way. I've had people ask, like, what island are you going to? We're going to Maui. To me, it was like the nice middle ground. Like, Honolulu is like super busy and like a city. And I didn't want like high rise, like Ocean City style. I wanted like something more like nature. And that's what this is going to be. So I'm hyped. We do have one last comment of the week, and this is like the feel good comment of the week. So I thought I would share this, and I think maybe it'll send us out on a positive note. This comes from A Blind Man's Life. It says, "Hey there, Greg. Been here since episode 22 when the podcast was called Missing Pieces on your Lego channel, Brickitect. I don't even know what episode we're on right now. I just stopped. I know we went past 100, I'm pretty sure. It just is now. Always nice to see one of these videos on a Sunday morning. When I first started watching, I was 16. I'm now 18. I say that because you were talking about the different age ranges of people who watch your content. I started working out this year, and I just wanted to say that you are a huge inspiration for me. Seeing that you were going to the gym a few days a week started to make me want to go. I like to walk and jog on the treadmill. I also like swimming laps. I feel like when I'm on the treadmill, I'm always thinking when it has been an hour or 30 minutes. When I'm swimming laps, though, I feel like it has been an hour or 30 minutes. I like both for different reasons, but if I had to choose, I would choose swimming. Keep up the great work. I look forward to the next podcast." Well, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. I'm glad to be a little inspiration in what you're doing. And maybe you're going to be a little inspiration to me because I like the idea of swimming laps. And I know there's a place near us that you can do it. They've like open swim times within like, it's like 6 to 8 a.m. or something like that. And I'm not like, I wouldn't consider myself a good swimmer. I've never like swam like professionally or whatever you want to call it. Like I can swim through a pool, but I've never like swam laps. But I know it's a good workout, and I do love swimming in general. Like I just love being in pools. So maybe we'll do pizza, pretzels, pickles, pools. I think that could be like the fourth element that was really missing from my channel. Maybe all of those at once. But yeah, I'm kind of interested in that. I'd be curious to know how many calories you can burn doing that. I imagine it would probably be pretty high because you're like, I think water polo, when you look at like the list of like activities that you can burn a ton of calories, water polo is like one of the highest ones because you're constantly like keeping yourself afloat, like treading water. But yeah, that's pretty cool that you're working out. I'm loving these stories of people that are taking charge this year. Like that was the consistent thing that I've seen in this last week's comments. I guess maybe because I spent half the episode talking about weight loss now, like people are starting to come out of the woodwork, but it's cool to see you guys like also doing it too. And I feel like when you see other people doing it, maybe it does kind of encourage you. You're like, yeah, I can do that too. Look at that. You can go swimming. I can swim. I can do that. And it does sound like it's more fun than being on the treadmill because I know exactly that feeling. Anybody that's been on a treadmill, elliptical, whatever, you know that feeling of looking down at the time, or even at work. I used to do this at work. You look at the time and you're like, oh my God, how has it only been 5 minutes? I thought it's been 6 hours. It's 9:05. I can't leave until 5 p.m. Or you're on the treadmill and you're like, surely it's been 30 minutes. It's been a minute 14. Yeah, I know that feeling, but we still keep doing it because ultimately the results that you get from it are totally worth what you put in. And that's kind of my life philosophy, I guess, just keep putting the effort, the work, having a goal, staying driven, and the results will come. And that's how you get paid in the results. And it makes it all worth it. All the sacrifices, the leaving the McDonald's on the doorstep, sometimes splurging every once in a while, but also working that off. You still keep making progress. Even if it's not what you want to see, you're still getting there. And maybe there is some lesson in this that you can have a little bit of fun in life. You don't have to be like me where you eat a hard-boiled egg for brunch fist and that's all you eat for the whole morning. You can enjoy life a little bit while also kind of making your life better. And I guess that's the journey that I'm on. So thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have anything that you would like to share about this episode or anything that's on your heart or in your mind that you would like me to talk about next week, I'm always open to that, of course. And I guess beyond that, I hope you have a great week this week, and we'll see you all in the next Missing Pieces.